I recently made a video about I call it the speculating the Watts, and in that video I was trying to study somewhat the psychology, the pathology of Chris Watts, and the different family dynamics that I noticed and observed. And there was something really, I don't mean to keep bringing it up, but I forgot one. I missed a detail. I had noticed, I looked at the video that popped while the officer's webcam, or the cam that would be on the officer's uniform, while the police officer was looking at the surveillance video from Chris Watts' neighbor. There was this amazing thing that happened. A commercial popped, and I can't remember what the commercial is, if it's Xbox or something. The commercial shows a fetus, the outline of a uterus. Down below, I missed one detail, and I was just dismissing it. I was putting a few things together. The video commercial is a fetus, the outline of a uterus, and then there's an explosion. There's an explosion, and then you see a skull melting in some black oil. What's so extraordinary about that commercial is that showing up at that moment when they were showing the surveillance, Chris carrying out things. He was next to his truck at 5 o'clock in the morning, so on and so forth, is that when I was looking for battery tanks to find out for sure if these oil tanks were called battery, and there was all that Chris Watts having a Metallica tattoo on his back, and the fact, or if the rumor was that he had been searching on the internet the day of his family disappearance. He was researching a song by Metallica, which I looked up, and it exists, called Battery, and the song is pretty. I'll link my video below. Anyway, the detail that I missed was the explosion that shows in that commercial before you see the skull, which is a symbol of death, melting in some black oily substance. What I had dismissed was that when I was looking for those battery tanks, I found many videos showing explosions. Like these tanks sometimes apparently they sometimes explode. These oil tanks explode sometimes. You do it yourself. Do the research. Look for battery tanks on YouTube. You'll see that a lot of news about these tanks exploding will show. The other detail is that the one thing that you do see very well, Chris carrying into the back of his pickup truck, is one of those red containers that people use to carry additional gasoline. Don't know if the trip was so long that maybe he needed to carry extra gasoline in case it would be so ironic to work for the oil company, go to the oil company fields and run out of gas. But was that the reason, or was there more to what his plans were? Anyway, he got thwarted and ran out of time because people showed up at where the tanks are, his co-workers, and he didn't have time to do much. But there's more to that. There's something interesting, is that he had been there once before. I don't know the timeline when the leaks started, but the reason someone had to go to those battery tanks is because there was a leak that needed to be fixed, and he was volunteering to go. He had been there once before. Did he start that leak? And perhaps he needed to do things that night, that very night, when Shanann got back home because of all the, you know, when he needed to go to where the tanks are, the battery tanks. So the conclusion about all this is, in terms of what might have happened, was Chris Watts planning to blow up those tanks, to blow up all the evidence? You know, that might have been a better way to get rid of the bodies and all the evidence. Crime's stupid no matter what you do. So I want to also recommend, when you look at all these different things, if you look at Chris Watts' family, and I'm not trying to bash in any way, read a book called People of the Lie by M. Scott Peck. People of the Lie. It explains the subtle ways in which narcissism hides in practically almost respectable people that seem normal. Lastly, I want to say that I found out that Jamie Watts, she's not a physical therapist, a respiratory therapist. She's in the health field. She was the one to leave home several times as a young person, trying to be independent and walk away from her family dynamics. And something positive might be said about the black sheep and the people that don't go along. Chris Watts was the one to merge, to be the quiet one, to not stand up and just seem to be the good kid. When the family is not that great, if that's the case, it isn't good to be the good kid that goes along. So anyway, kudos to the black sheeps of the families, that they become the black sheeps for a reason. All right, that's what I wanted to add. I'll link the original video. It's about a little bit over 35 minutes long, with my take on the dynamics of family and the psychopathy of everything that happened. My heart goes out to Shanann's family. They have suffered a great, really devastating loss. All right, stay cool. Bye.